Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Real Property Report Live. I'm Monica Jazik. I am the founder of Real Property Investments, where we help real people build real wealth through real estate and alternative investments. So the purpose of the Real Property Report Live is to bring you a live update every Saturday, summarizing updates with COVID-19 in Ontario, Canada, and the US, and discussing these updates with our wonderful panel of experts. So joining us today, we have Natalie Ambroni, owner of Hair Salon Capricci in Markham. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
And we have Jenna Ross, property management specialist in Nova Scotia and owner of Happy Place Property Management. Hi, Jenna.
Hello, everyone.
And we have Maddie and Patricia Ruiz, homestager and owners of Regroup Property Stylists. Hi, Maddie and Patricia.
Hi.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. We have several points of discussion which have happened in the past week. Obviously, this past week has been a little different than all the other weeks in COVID-19, especially with all the different international striking protests in regards to the Black Lives Matter. And I know it's affected all of us a lot differently. And it's been kind of a very sad week, I find. We're already in the midst of a global pandemic, and then this sort of happens, the George Floyd incident happens, and it's really, there's a lot of hurt in the world today. So it really kind of is sad to see, the way everything is kind of going. But in the US, actually, there's a lot of officials and across Canada as well that are really fearing that the protesting is going to be bringing new coronavirus outbreaks. So I've heard a lot of peaceful rallies have been going on, and social distancing and COVID-19 measures have been put in place. But then in a lot of photos and stuff that you also see, and obviously with the riots and this sort of stuff, actually I did see someone rioting with a mask on, which was kind of interesting. Yeah. But it is a concern, definitely. And during the arrests from the actual protesters, police have been loading protesters into vehicles and holding cells. And once again, they're not taking the social distancing measures into place there as well, which is a little bit concerning. So Canada, on the other hand, saw 637 new lab confirmed cases of COVID-19 reported on Thursday. And this is slightly lower than a 705 a day earlier and 990 for a week earlier. So our country's caseload is now 93,500 cases. So Quebec is remaining the hardest hit province. 55% of the country's cases in Canada and more than 60% of Canada's fatalities are coming from Quebec. And Quebec also reported 259 new cases and 91 deaths on Thursday, which actually is a drop from the week before, but people are still concerned because Quebec is one of the provinces that actually did reopen schools, and they did really kind of lift their social distancing more than a lot of the other provinces. So unfortunately, 90% of the new cases are still in Ontario and Quebec. These are hotspots. 2 of Canada's 3 territories and Prince Edward Island have had no community transmission. And a 3rd territory, the none of it, has not even had a single case. So on a positive note, health officials are saying that Canada is actually flattening the curve sooner than other countries, such as the UK and the US. So in Ontario, where we are, health officials are confirming that 45 more people have died after contracting COVID-19, which obviously is upsetting. We have the 356 new COVID cases. So our total number in Ontario now is 29,403 cases, 2,357 deaths, and 23,208 recoveries. So for the second straight day, the number of COVID-19 cases, once again, was in the 300s. On the good news front, our testing, we're finally meeting our testing quotas. So I know our premier was saying we have to have 20,000 tests done a day. At the start of this pandemic, people were doing as little as 6 tests a day, and that is not good, obviously. So they're finally up there. More people are getting tests, and hopefully this kind of helps get things under control a lot more. Another good news on the good news front here in Ontario is that our province has given the green light to resume short-term rentals. So Airbnbers, people who are owners of lodges and resorts. I mean, I know that everyone loves, going away in other provinces as well, but Ontario, I mean, we really don't have, Jen, I think you might be up there on the cottage country in Nova Scotia with the beautiful ocean and everything. Yeah. We have our Muskokas and our Collingwoods and our Kawarthas, and we really kind of gravitate towards those areas in the summer. So I personally was really, really happy to hear that, our vacation rental spot's going to be open. And on an investment front, this is going to mean a lot to people who do Airbnbs and short-term rentals. Now, they are saying, though, that operators and guests should continue to practice physical distancing, wear a face covering when physical distancing is a challenge, and also obviously wash your hands frequently. Mm-hmm. So that is the report of what's kind of happened. So it's sort of a mixed good news, bad news report. It's been a little bit crazy this week. But I'm interested in hearing, a little more about what's happening in the Maritimes. So, Jenna, Nova Scotia now has 1,058 confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 60 deaths and 993 resolved cases. So you have not been hit nearly as bad as Ontario, which is really, really great. On the other hand, New Brunswick has reported the province's first death from COVID-19, raising the death toll in Canada to 7,635 people. And the long-term care home in New Brunswick has experienced that outbreak as of Wednesday. It's been linked to 8 COVID-19 cases, and I believe, or another 15 cases have been increased after a doctor went and traveled to Quebec. Yikes. And then did not self-isolate and came back to New Brunswick. Yeah. So that's not that great. We really need to self-isolate people. How has COVID-19 affected property management? Because you are the owner of a property management company in Nova Scotia. How has the COVID-19 affected property management in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, so things are looking pretty good in Nova Scotia. There's been some challenges, as you've mentioned. A lot of our cases have been isolated to Northwood, a home care facility. So things are on the property management front, seeing a lot of tenants who have been laid off. So they've been laid off for a few months, and things are pretty good. We were really nervous going into April because it was the first month, but we really didn't see an increase in a lot of tenants that just couldn't pay or refused to pay. Everybody was very cooperative, and we went out of our way to communicate with our tenants and the owners to come up with a plan that worked for everybody and make sure that the tenants had the funding to pay their rent and pointed them to programs in place. So
I think that the cooperative approach really kind of has been the best approach so far. I know here in Ontario, at least. So it's interesting to kind of hear how it is in other provinces. But were there any talks of any of these tenant rent strikes?
I saw some emails come across my desk just through social media, and actually one of my former tenants in more of a student rental seemed to be a little bit involved with that. I don't see that it got any traction. Mind you, I don't do a lot of student rentals myself. We manage single family homes mainly, but certainly our tenants, we have sort of a professional friendship with, and they value having a home, and we value providing that for them. So I think most people understand, especially with families, that at the end of the day, at the end of this, they need to protect the fact that they have a home and work nicely with the landlords and the property manager to, make sure that they can stay in a home, because it's not good to, it's not good to withhold rent. We haven't had anybody withhold rent, but that wouldn't be a good situation if, when this lifts, you want to have a home to live in.
Absolutely. Like, let's have some forward thinking here. This will eventually end, and they're going to have to pay it sooner or later. So I know that some people have been serving tenants. Our courts here in Ontario are way backlogged. We are not very landlord friendly here in Ontario. Would you say the Nova Scotia is more landlord friendly or tenant friendly, or kind of a happy medium?
So in Nova Scotia, I think we're similar. We definitely have a lot of rules protecting our tenants over our landlords. So that's it's been an uphill battle. There's a lot of things that we kind of have to push for. And in most cases, if we go to our board here, which is Nova Scotia Residential Tenancies, they will rule in favor of tenants unless it's a situation that's very clear that the tenant was at fault for something. That's usually how they will rule.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
As a landlord, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
It's great to give great homes to people and have that great partnership with tenants, but it is also frustrating. There are kind of a lot of strikes against us, especially with the situations of the courts in Ontario. The courts shut down, and we're not able to do anything to move forward. So if people aren't paying, we're really kind of stuck. So that's why we're really trying to work with people and trying to help people. What is the status of the landlord tenant board in Nova Scotia in terms of court closures and backlogs?
Well, I know coming into this Access Nova Scotia, which is where you would go in Nova Scotia to file for something residential tenancy related. I haven't had to go in and try to file anything new, but we did have some pending. We had some pending hearings, and when my family got back from vacation in March, there was one that was coming up, and the tenants decided, for whatever reason, not to dial in. And one thing that we found is Nova Scotia Residential Tenancies automatically, instead of dropping the hearing, decided to give the tenants the benefit of the doubt that they had technical difficulties and rescheduled the hearing. So that was kind of frustrating. I'm not sure if I have a feeling that we're waiting until the end of this to be able to file, but I haven't tried, so I'm not entirely sure on that point.
Right. Well, at least you had something sort of online court. That must have been quite interesting.
All of the hearings in Nova Scotia have moved with residential tenancies to a telephone hearing, which is it's okay. So that would be that's how we deal with them now all of the time. So not in person. So anyway, it is what it is. I think for owners, the best thing that you can do is try to hire a property manager. If you want to self-manage, find out about what the rules are and really try to work things out with your tenants, place really good tenants, and really just try to avoid that altogether if you can, because it's never fun for anyone.
Yeah, well, it's really great to hear things are probably going to get back to normal more so in Nova Scotia than it is in Ontario. Which is fantastic for you. And I love how you said, they should be behaving now. When this is over, they're still going to need a place to live. So it really is important that everyone kind of works together and helps each other through this global pandemic. I think you'll have a much higher success ratio, and even our Ontario property managers and all the landlords, we're all kind of have that same sort of theme. So
yeah,
excellent. Well, thank you so much, Jenna, for offering this insight. We'll move on to Maddie and Patricia. Maddie and Patricia, if anyone's never heard of them, which you totally should have heard of them, at Regroup Property Stylists, are amazing home stagers, and you ladies do fantastic work. How has COVID-19 affected the home staging industry?
Oh, Monica, it's been huge because, when things first started, it hit at our busiest season, the busy spring real estate listing season. So when it first started, some people were hesitant. Do we sell? Do we not sell? Those that we had sort of planned to be staging. And then it's almost as if the minute Ontario declared a state of emergency, things came to a crashing halt.
Right.
For most, for stagers, definitely, was some staging done over the course of time? For sure. But maybe it was vendors, kind of doing their own or tidying up, and, some of the agents bringing in some items as well.
Well, were you deemed an essential worker, like an essential service?
We were deemed a provider to an essential. So that being the real estate agents were essential services, and then we, like movers and companies like that, the furniture rental companies, were deemed the suppliers to the essential service.
Well, I think that you're definitely essential.
We like to think that too.
The real estate market, it is so hot right now still.
Very hot.
Things are selling. They're selling over asking. And I was just telling you, we were looking at some properties yesterday, and I was doing my comparables.
Yeah.
And I was looking at homes that were reselling for $1.6 million, and they were not staged. There was old furniture and clunky furniture and improper design, and it did absolutely nothing for the house. And I remember when we did our property together, when your staging, I think, made all the difference. It turned a shell of a home into a home. And right now, I guess people may be thinking, okay, maybe property stagers aren't working, or maybe it's not essential. I'm just going to sell this. And things are selling really fast now because we don't have much on the market.
That's right.
But what's going to happen when everyone starts listing their homes soon, as the weather's getting warmer now and there's going to be more and more listings on the market? Well, I think that, home staging is going to come back huge.
Any of the webinars that we've been on with the Real Estate Staging Association, and that's Canadian and American, that's sort of the general feeling. This is definitely the general feeling, especially when a lot of the doubts are over, or when maybe more people are allowed in homes, or people have, people maybe are a little bit more used to this new normal. So we, for example, have several people, we were ready to stage them in, say, late March, but everything came to that crashing halt at the very, around the 23rd or so. And so they're still up in the air. Do they even list? Do they stage? What are they going to do? And because there's rules around how staging works right now, and how we work with the furniture rentals, who can be home, for example, when we're staging, all of that. For the vacant homes, it's so much simpler, but so much of staging involves occupied homes. So that's where it's really, really difficult. But most of the experts are saying and are expecting exactly what you said, that there's going to be a huge demand. It's going to be, a huge increase, and it's going to be a real boom.
And I think
as we're gradually pushing industry back in, and home staging is going to, be home staging, what kind of COVID measures are you going to take, especially with furniture that's being taken from a warehouse to one home back to a warehouse, into another home.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, from that same association, we have sort of a list of stuff that we're doing on our end. So things like no, we don't do the furniture. So what the furniture suppliers are doing, they're probably doing something similar, but there's no items that are going from home to home. They're coming back to our warehouse. They're being sanitized. They're all of our team and ourselves, we're all wearing gloves, masks, doing social distancing, only certain people in and out.
Yeah. Vendors cannot be home when we're staging. And right now, our policy, and most of the established stagers who are involved with associations, etc., their policy is for that home to be vacant 72 hours before going in.
Wow.
Which means, which means a vendor has to find someplace else to go. And can that happen? Not always. We recently turned down a job that was in the West End, but it was a busy home. Babies, kids, mom at home, just too much going on. And we found that we're just not doing, our civic duty by going in and exposing ourselves and our next group of projects to that particular, to that particular setting and our accessories, etc. So, we didn't move forward on that one.
Yeah, it's been a difficult time, I think, for everyone. I remember when we did our real property report like 2 months ago, it was the day before the list of essential services was revealed.
It was so confusing.
We were holding our breath, waiting. And I think that home stagers and hairstylists, Natalie, are very important, obviously.
Yes.
But what's even was more concerning at that point was appraisers. Are appraisers going to be deemed an essential service? Because if we can't get appraisers, then you can't get mortgages.
Right.
And, so that would have just totally affected everyone. But every single business really was kind of holding their breath going, what am I allowed to do? What am I not allowed to do? And every week it changes, which is actually the purpose of the real property report, is we are only highlighting the changes in that past week, because a lot of people are moving past this puzzle and extra working out phase and cleaning your homes and reorganizing your closets. And it takes a lot of energy to listen to Trudeau's message, Trump's message, and Doug Ford's message every single day, wherever it is they report, waiting with bated breath for Trudeau to come out of his front door. So, not everyone has the time to do that. So it's really important. And there's a lot of people out there like you guys, all of you are very busy business owners, who are waiting to get back not only into full gear, but you're still doing things while you're waiting. And you're also having to adhere to a set of new rules every week. It's kind of different. So Maddie and Patricia, I hope that things are back in full swing. I think you're going to be a huge service. And I think that all those people who sold their $1.6 million homes in the state that they were in should go out and buy a lottery ticket, because you are very lucky. I could only imagine what it would sell for if you had your magic.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming on. We'll move on to Natalie. And Natalie is the owner of Salon Capricci in Markham, and she is my hairstylist. And Maddie is responsible for the amazing Instagram hair posts that I put on one Instagram account, but the Instagram account I'm hoping everyone actually is following is our work one. And when I'm at work, Natalie, I'm used to seeing you at least once a week.
I know.
Sometimes twice a week. I miss you.
I miss you too.
I miss my blonde hair. I don't know what's happened there. She does color and do all that as well. But I remember at the start of this COVID-19, the big jokes were, in 3 weeks from now, everyone's going to know what their natural hair color is. And this is it apparently. So a lot of businesses are starting to open. However, the Ontario's extended the provincial declaration of emergency to June 30th. And the decision supports the government's efforts to respond to the COVID-19 outbreak and protect the health and safety of Ontarians, as the province reopens in a measured and socially responsible way. Some businesses are gradually reopening, but in Ontario, hair salons are not one of them yet. And this is horrible.
Not yet, but they did make an announcement yesterday. They said for restaurants and hair salons to start to prepare to open up. So, I mean, we still don't have a date, but at least they've sort of given us a little bit of insight that, you know, it could be in the near future. We're hoping.
So what does that mean for you? Like, what would you do to start to open up?
I guess it's, you know, I've already done it, but just get all our PPE stuff, figure out a schedule. We'll have to do split shifts because our space isn't so big, and, you know, there's a lot of us there. So we're going to have to change our salon hours. We'll have to, you know, get the hand sanitizing stations, masks, gloves, like everything pretty much ready to go, so that when they give us the green light, you know, our customers want to come in now. So as soon as they tell us you can open up, we got to be ready because it's going to be very crazy.
It will be. Oh my gosh, there's going to be like a lineup around the block waiting to get into the hair salons. I've been reverting to ponytails probably 90% of the time.
Me too.
So
Me too.
your hair looks great, by the way. So you're your own marketing there. So now, how has COVID-19, you know, affected your business? Walk us back to the start of all this when it was kind of just starting until the closures occurred.
Honest, I didn't think it was going to come to this. When they were, you know, we were watching the news and we were still open, doing a few people's hair, and things started to get worse, and the NBA shut down, and slowly everything started to shut down, and we all kind of started looking at each other thinking, okay, you know, maybe we should close for a couple weeks and follow suit with all the other businesses. And so we did that. And within a couple days, I believe Toronto had declared it the state of emergency, and businesses at that point had to be shut down. So I didn't think it was going to go on this long. I kept saying, okay, a couple more weeks. And then I think it's now I'm surprised that it's been happening this long. It kind of feels surreal in a way.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder if things are ever going to go back to normal. Now, what did you do as a small business owner? What ways did you adapt to keep it running to some possible extent?
So a couple weeks after we closed, we started to promote our root touch-up kits because, you know, we have a lot of clients who come to us every 3-4 weeks for their regrowth. I think that's the most needed right now. So we started offering those. We offered curbside pickup. I offered delivery for people who lived close by. And after that, we had a lot of people wanting actual color kits. So we started offering those to our clients. We had their formulas. We knew their hair. We'd been working with them for quite some time. We would pre-mix their formula and, again, either deliver it or meet them at the salon outside and do a curbside pickup. So that was pretty much, and we sold some gift cards and some hair products as well. So there was a few things that we did, but nothing substantial, you know, to say was like us being open.
So I don't even know how they would even know to even use those kits, you know, with your, without your application. I mean, I'm beyond L'Oreal, like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it would be simple root touch-ups just to sort of cover up what you can see in the front and the top. I did a list of instructions for everyone. I gave them gloves and a brush and, you know, everything that they would need pretty much. And they could call me if they had any questions, but I think everyone pretty much did an okay job from what I've heard so far. So we'll see when we see them back in the salon what everything ends up looking like. But I think for the most part, it was all okay.
That's great. And this is actually, in addition, we had some business owners on talking about how people need to create wealth. And this has been a tough time for small businesses. I'm sure your income has taken a bit of a hit. And it's really kind of forced us to really kind of assess our businesses and think outside the box, create income in other ways. I would suggest to you documenting that tutorial and YouTubing it.
Yeah.
With a mail out system with these color kits. It could totally be a new income stream for you.
It's possible. I mean, for again, for people who are desperate or can't come into us, and if they're unwell or they're sick, I mean, it would, and they have a function, like something coming up. I mean, it would sort of be something good for everyone to kind of learn how to do or figure out they can do it.
Right, right. Well, you know what? It's funny because hairstylists are a huge part of ourself. And, you know, you don't feel like yourself when you don't feel good. And there's all sorts of industries. Aside from my cleaning lady, I miss you more than anyone of all the services. So I can't wait till when our cleaning ladies come back. Are they allowed to come back? I need to report on this. So I think good for you for being such a trooper. I cannot wait to come back and visit. And I have one last question, actually. When you're doing this gradual reopening and they're kind of telling you what to expect, how much support are small businesses receiving? And this actually goes for all of you, because Jenna, you've had to be in homes. Maddie and Patricia, you've been in homes, and Natalie, you're going to be seeing clients. How much support is actually provided from the government in regards to cleaning properly and distancing yourself properly? I mean, after clients come in and this and that, especially in the salon, Natalie, there must be some sort of protocol in regards to cleaning your stations. It's not just because one person's level of cleaning can vary to others. So is any of that type of support or instructions provided to all of you?
They haven't given us anything yet. We've had some stuff from our suppliers and people in the industry. So it all seems very similar, but we haven't gotten anything from the government yet to say, you know, these are the guidelines. They probably will, I'm hoping, give us something. I think other than that, I mean, for the most part, we all have to make sure that we, you know, take every measure possible when it comes to cleaning and sanitizing and taking our time after each client, because they'll be sitting in our chairs and, you know, sort of, you know how it is all around. So we'll have very, very.
Well, you know what? I think it's actually, I wasn't even thinking about this before until right now, but that's really important. And that, you know, how all businesses have to adhere, especially client service businesses, to a certain list, you know, of rules and regulations, and they have bylaws officers going in and regulating. And if we don't have these actual instructions and checklists of things that people need to achieve, we're leaving people just due to their own level of acceptance. And some people are not going to take it seriously. Others might be overly serious. I think that it really is the government's responsibility to really, really, really provide guidance that's a bit higher than, you know, people's personal discretion. We cannot leave it up to individuals to make these decisions, especially when a lot of people are stressed out economically and they're just ready to go back regardless of what's going on. So I hope they give you those instructions. Jenna, have you noticed specific instructions in regards to, like, is there actually a COVID clean when you're between units and tenanting units?
I have no instructions. We've been sort of, we've been trying to keep, like, as I have some employees, trying to keep them out of places where there are tenants, and, you know, kind of really winging it and taking the necessary precautions if they have to go in, like social distancing, masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, wipes. It's been, and we've been really trying not to show units that are tenanted, and we've done okay with it. But in terms of how to, you know, properly clean a place and instructions that way, we've kind of been left to our own devices. Like, and that is really scary. And I think anybody that's in the short-term Airbnb space is going to really want to do their best to figure it out, because a lot of any guests they're going to be anxious to get out there and travel and stay, but they're going to have a heightened level of expectation around the cleanliness.
That is so true. Like, let's think about it. All of us are probably going to be going away. Let's pretend we're all going to go to an Airbnb this summer. So let's think about this. When we walk through that door, has that door handle been sanitized? What about the light switches? What about the bed that you're sleeping on with the pillow? I don't think it should just be a pillow change. There should be a brand new pillow issued for each kind of visitor. Or maybe they should start restrictions where people bring their own stuff. But then again, that also could bring in problems as well. But this is just a perfect example of if we're going to be reopening and everyone wants to reopen, and that's great, it's not going to be the same as before. And I think we really do need to be monitored. I think Airbnb should really be putting on these tutorials and instructions, because you forget when you're cleaning your home. It's very easy to forget a light switch, or a tap, or all those places that we come in contact. It's a lot more than just wearing gloves and a mask. Because I heard that the masks actually don't protect people. It will protect other people from you, but it doesn't protect you so much. And a lot of this disease is airborne as well.
Yep.
So is there some particular air freshener or something?
Monica, one of the things that we're doing, and we figured it out on our own as well, and talking to other stagers and just sort of thinking all the time, or asking, friends and other people we know who might be more on the germaphobe side, what do you think? Does that sound good? Doing things like we're sending one person in first to do all the sanitizing. So their job as they go in, one of our team members, is to do door handles, light switches, kitchen countertop. And then when we go in, we're not touching as much that we normally would. So normally we may, if somebody leaves their toothbrush out on the counter, we'll pop it, away for them. Now we'll have to leave them a list. So we can't even do the extra littles that, we've asked them to do, but they didn't. They're busy. We can't even do that anymore.
And that's frustrating, isn't it? Like, because you guys go above and beyond.
Yes, yes. And for some new things that we've invented that we would never have done a few years ago, even months ago, was, curbside accessories for someone. So they can do their own staging with our items, and saying to them, okay, I've wiped everything down. I packed it with a mask on. I had gloves on. Are you comfortable with that? Because everyone also has a different level of comfort. Like you said, they have a different level of clean and a different level of comfort through this. So saying to the agents, are you comfortable with how I've done it? And, we did our best to make sure it was sanitized when we're sending it to you. And now we're in the process of figuring out what to do to get it back. To make sure it's clean as we're getting it, and then storing it. But there are no real guidelines. We're, inventing as we're going. Like I'm sure the other two, Jen and Natalie, have had to come up with all kinds of things too.
Yeah, right. I mean, the government's doing a great job at throwing money and giving money to everyone. But we need to have support. And I think there has to be support. There has to be protocol. We have to have follow-up to make sure that everyone is following the guidelines. It's a lot easier at Real Property Investments. All of our wealth building solutions are based on systems. And everything in my life is a system. You can talk to Vaughn about that. He would have things to say, from the way I get out of bed in the morning to the way you go to bed. Everything really operates on that system, and that's enabled me to do everything effectively, including business operations, parenting, domestic duties, and even fitness, health, and general sanity. And, we need these systems, and people need support. People, I don't think, are thinking rationally, because it's been a huge emotional hit on all of us. We're not only socially isolated, we are economically challenged. And businesses need clients, and we need to run. And when you cannot, and your economies of scale are largely compromised, and you are in a stressful economic situation, you are not going to make the best decisions. So people should be ready to go back to work. But like all of you ladies, a lot of people might not have that witness, and we got to protect people. And so I think the government definitely should be providing that. And I'm really hoping that you guys are kind of documenting some of these measures as well, because I think you can help a lot of people by sharing those too, because you're such innovators. But thank you so much for touching on all those important subjects. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. Please join us next Saturday at 12 p.m. for the Real Property Report. We'll have another full week of statistics and a panel of experts. And check out all of our events at rpinvestments.ca. Have an amazing weekend, everyone.